slave-on-slave violence through the mainstream media. Again, subtlety and trust in the inevitability of human psychology is the key. First of all, you must never directly censor and control the media, or its inhabitants may rebel against your authority and reveal your naked aggression. Divine greetings, African royals, wherever you are. Princes, princesses, kings and queens. Welcome again to another episode of W for W book reading series. Reading for enlightenment and awareness. We are currently reading from the book entitled The Handbook of Human Ownership, a manual for new tax farmers. And today, we will be drilling down into chapter 10. In our last episode, we covered chapters 8 and 9, where we learn about the dependent classes and the slave family in relation to human ownership and tax farming. In this episode, we will be learning more about human ownership and tax farming in conjunction with the media. And how it all correlates. Yeah, man. I don't in chapter 10. I do hope that you are well geared up to learn something new today. But before we head on down into today's reading, a quick disclaimer. We might be reading from this book, but it don't mean that we endorse the book or the author. We are just reading for knowledge and enlightenment. Alright? Alright, and remember, this is a spiritual mission with our ancestors as our guiding light. And remember, you can always download a free copy of this book at freedomainradio.com so you can read and follow along with us. With that said, grab your notebooks, grab your highlighters and your pens, and let's go open up our eyes some more in this episode. Chapter 10. The Media. A few people, however, will retain the strength to emerge from the slave class and, particularly given the communications opportunities of the internet, may start broadcasting their message to a wider audience, in which case it's important to pull the emergency backup attack switch called the mainstream media. How do you create slave-on-slave violence through the mainstream media? Again, subtlety and trust in the inevitability of human psychology is the key. First of all, you must never directly censor and control the media, or its inhabitants may rebel against your authority and reveal your naked aggression. Once the knowledge of slavery becomes inescapable, society inevitably and immediately changes, and hiding this knowledge is the entire art and science of human ownership. Thus, you need to create a slow and increasing economic dependence in the media rather than arresting and imprisoning its members. You do this by making reporters more and more dependent upon information from the government. It is much, much cheaper to simply rewrite a governmental press release than it is to spend weeks or months going undercover, interviewing subjects, verifying sources, and exposing yourself to legal complications in order to break a story outside the normal channels of communication. Furthermore, as state power grows, more and more people become more and more interested in what the government says and does, since they are investors or business people whose fortunes rise and fall on the whims of the ruling class. This process can be a little risky at first, but you only need a decade or two in order for it to become almost universal and irreversible. Remember, it takes a pretty empty person to rewrite government press releases for a living, and fairly delusionary managers to pretend that they are not the mere amplifiers of the whispers of power. Once these managers assume their positions, they will inevitably reject any energetic truth seekers and instinctively seek out and employ other empty rewriters of state edicts. The collective delusion that they are still producing quote-unquote news becomes progressively stronger to the point where they will rail against and attack anyone who actually tries to publish something that is true, particularly if it threatens the government contacts who supply their disinformation. Access to government thus becomes the foundation of any media organization. Therefore, no fundamental criticisms of government can be produced. You can criticize a tax, but not taxation itself. You can criticize a party, but not the state. You can criticize a vote, but not voting. As usual, it is both depressing and exciting to see the tiny price that people are willing to sell themselves for. Their name in print, a meager expense account, a few parties, and they are yours. The physical abuse required to keep the sheep in line is doled out by the police. The verbal abuse is doled out by the media. The media has been trained to attack anyone who questions the foundations of violent power. The equation is really very simple. So simple that it is always overlooked. If a man says that coercive wealth transfers, theft in the vernacular, are wrong, then the media instantly attacks him for not caring about whoever is receiving the stolen money. For instance, if a man questions the morality and practicality of the welfare state, he will be immediately attacked for not caring about the poor. If he argues against government schools, then he clearly hates the fact that children get educated. If he defends free trade, he is an immoral advocate for blood-sucking corporations. If he criticizes military budgets, he is a cowardly appeaser who wishes to surrender Fort Knox to Al-Qaeda. If he holds people morally accountable for their actions, he is punishing them for their past mistakes and quote-unquote playing the blame game. If he refuses to forgive unrepentant wrongdoers, he is nursing a grudge, and so on. If he argues that adult relationships are voluntary, then he is viciously anti-community. If he says that abuse should not be tolerated in relationships, then he is an intolerant absolutist bent on destroying all relationships. The list can go on and on and on, and Lord knows it does, every day, but you get the point. The wonderful thing is that you won't ever have to tell the media to do this. It just happens of its own accord, because people who are expert verbal abusers always rise to the top of the media pyramid because they are so useful to those of us in power, so we always give them access and exclusivity. You only need a few verbal abusers in charge, and everyone else will fall in line, because anyone who tries to stand up against them will be immediately smacked down and will face the horrifying spectacle of watching all of their colleagues either take cowardly steps back or join in the verbal assaults. I should probably have mentioned that priests, the best verbal abusers in history, left the church for socialism and the media, which is why the media tends to be so left-wing. The reason the media performs this service for us is very simple. We own their livelihoods through licensing, legal regulation, and access to information. If we decide to cut anyone off, its career is over. If anyone displeases us, we can threaten to pull the license of the entire organization, because the rules are so Byzantine that we can nail someone for something at any time. Much like tax code, it is a form of soft totalitarianism that we have perfected over the generations. The purpose of regulation is to control through rational anxiety rather than dictatorial terror. Prior dictatorships would shoot people, arrest and imprison them arbitrarily. This controlled people's bodies very effectively, but destroyed their entrepreneurial energies and motivations. It is far more effective to regulate and license and tax, and this is true for all industries, because potential dissidents then face their own foggy walls of vague anxiety, in which they will not face arrest and imprisonment, but rather lengthy legal complications, which they may eventually win, but which drain much of the joy out of living while they go on month after month, year after year. This is true for public sector unions as well. We don't make it illegal for a manager to fire a unionized employee because that would expose the system for the economic joke that it is. We just make it really lengthy and complicated and emotionally draining and confrontational and exhausting. That is the true perfection of soft totalitarianism. People will surrender to anxiety and still vaguely feel free. If you terrorize them directly, they tend to just collapse intellectually and emotionally. If the media were directly owned by the government, the propaganda would be clear. The indirect quote-unquote ownership of licensing and access to information is far more effective and powerful because it maintains the veneer of independence and critical thinking. This form of indirect ownership is the essence of modern democratic tax farming. It is a central truism of human nature that people always attack what they avoid. If a reporter imagines that he is some sort of free-thinking iconoclast, he is in complete denial about the reality of his enslavement. This denial always manifests itself in hysterical attacks against anyone who dares to point it out or who is actually a free thinker. To sum up, if we attack the slaves, we lose. If the slaves attack each other, which is so easy to orchestrate, we win, at least for a time. Open the catch all of the nuggets them a drop. Open the basket full of a golden nuggets. Go home, go marinate pan. See you in the next chapter, the next episode. The next episode will be children, the greatest resource. Make sure you subscribe so you are notified when it's uploaded. Ancestral guidance. So, we've reached the end of today's episode, and thanks again for listening, and I do hope that you learned something new today. If you find this series educational and informative, please subscribe and join us as we continue, reading towards the global awakening and enlightenment of our people. A mammoth task, but it can be done. And again, please be reminded that not because we read a book here means that we are in agreement with the philosophies of the author or the context of the book. We are simply reading to become more knowledgeable about things we didn't know about but should. If it exists, then why shouldn't we know that it do? Just simply that. Give thanks again, and thanks for stopping by. See you in the next episode. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and drop your analysis in the comment section, whether you read the book already or you're just reading the book with us. Your comments are welcome. Okay? Give thanks.